Hello, good afternoon. So I can start now? Yeah, no, I'm asking the cameraman. Is it recording? Okay. So, hi everyone. Welcome here. I think most of you, I know most of you. I feel like today is my birthday party, to be honest. Okay. So, what are we doing here today? Today, I'm going to share with you my learning experience in Shanghai. 2 months ago in Shanghai. Actually, we have IUCN friends joining us online. Professor Edna, if you can hear me, please say something.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay,
I will. Everybody, good afternoon.
Yeah, I will introduce you later. So now, actually today the whole event rundown will be, I will be presenting 20 minutes, and then Professor Edna will talk another 20 minutes, and then we will have a fireside chat with Edna and also IUCN Global NbS Head Charles. And right now, Charles, he has an urgent medical appointment, so he will be joining us around 3:45, hopefully. If not, then we can do some question with Edna first. So, as you can see on the screen, here are some nice pictures from my trip in Shanghai. So in this trip, one of the biggest take that I had is that I met so many friends. Like apart from all the NbS knowledge I know, I met friends. And these friends they all care about NbS, they know NbS, they're experts, and then they will advance NbS globally together. So I feel quite blessed. For example, Professor Edna is here with me today, so if I have any question that I don't know how to answer, I will ask her. And for this one is IUCN, so it's the International Union for Nature Conservation. Is a steward, so he's the deputy director, and he's also the godfather of NbS. And then this one is the IUCN regional head, Dindo, and he will be here during, we think, in September. And then up there is the IUCN Asian NbS Hub's director, Luo Ming. And those are other participants from the summer school. So in my 20 minutes, I will talk about background, and then what I learned in the classroom, and also what I learned in the site visit, and then I will summarize with a slide of insights. So first of all, who doesn't know what's NbS? Because before this event, I asked everybody to ask a question, and I saw one question asking, what is NbS? So this is to respond to that question. So NbS basically is action, not talk. So it's action to protect, conserve, restore, sustainably use and manage natural or modified terrestrial, freshwater, coastal and marine ecosystem. And then it will bring human well-being while also bringing biodiversity benefits. So I'm sure all of you have actually known what's NbS. Oh, and also I will, like in some slides, I will have this blue box with the light bulb is like some key insight that I actually find quite nice that I learned from the class, and because I write down everything during the class, so it's something I found on the notes that I think is quite good. Okay, so here is the summer school background. It was a 10 days course. And actually, it's Patrick Young here who sent me the link on LinkedIn to register, to apply for it. So I think at the beginning, I was like, oh, I know everything about NbS already, so I don't need to go. But then at that moment, I was quite stuck because I already wrote another new report about NbS, and then I didn't know what to write for next year. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I can go there and meet some new friends and maybe bring in some expert to Hong Kong. So I applied for it. I sent my CV and cover letter, and luckily they accepted me, and I'm the only participant from Hong Kong. And so it's hosted by IUCN, NbS Asian Hub, and then also China Ministry of Natural Resources, MNR. And it was, I got lectured by 14 lecturers, and then there's also 32 participants like me. So they came from IUCN, some other China official from MNR, and also UNEP. And some global country representative from Mexico, Vietnam, Nepal, Pakistan, Italy, Portugal, France, so, and also some development banks and World Banks and AIIB, a lot of different banks. So on the first day, I forgot to mention, on the first day it was the launch of the NbS Shanghai sub-hub, as you can see here. And also this is like a site visit picture. So there's a presentation on the first day by the Vice Minister of the MNR, and he mentioned the national direction about NbS. So he said that China is currently having this green development vision, focusing on high quality. So NbS aligns with that vision. And that's why they established the NbS Asian Hub back in 2023 together with IUCN. So this NbS Asian Hub focused on mega NbS projects. For example, 200 million euros project with World Bank on restoration. And then they also work on capacity building. So they do training on the NbS standard and guidelines. And then they also do international engagement in COP and then different international forums. And China also protect this ecological red line. So 3 million square kilometer of land and 150,000 kilometer square of ocean. So what they do, for example, they do seagrass bed restoration. And then there's also some key direction from this Vice Minister of MNR. He said that like we should promote international innovation in restoration and also strengthen capacity building on global NbS standards, and then also to expand international collaboration to support developing countries. So my insight here is that in China, NbS is a bridge between policy, science, and practice. So it's when you use NbS, you can basically talk to different people, so to avoid working in silos. And so Shanghai's background. So this, in the upcoming slide about Shanghai, it was actually some presentation from the director of the Municipal Bureau of Shanghai, Bureau on Planning and Natural Resources. So he mentioned that Shanghai's NbS is focusing on the ecological civilization, this framework, and then also this beautiful Shanghai initiative. They want to make Shanghai as a model for China to use this for other cities. So they have a vision for 2035 is to be innovation, cultural, and ecological city. So actually this is based on the this is a video I took during the Shanghai site visit, which I will talk about later. So you can see there's a lot of greenery stuff in this old industrial area. So super green. So here, so as I mentioned, the 2035 vision of Shanghai is innovation, cultural, and ecological city. So it's based on the challenge they are facing right now. So Shanghai, they are facing 3 key challenges. So the first one is to improve climate adaptation, because Shanghai is a delta like Hong Kong, so flooding they will face, and also typhoon. And then they are also losing the Jiangnan Watertown cultural heritage, because it's a blue-green infrastructure. They have a lot of rivers and stuff, but then because of development, so all this, they are going very quickly. So they treat this as a challenge. And then there's also insufficient high-quality ecological space. So at least they know these are the challenge, and they are doing something about it. So what they are doing about it, I will mention it together later again in the site visit, based on the different locations like urban, suburban, and coastal. But you can listen right now. So for urban area, they try to do this returning nature to city, this term. So they are also doing this spatial renaturalization throughout the 45-kilometer waterfront corridors and buffer areas. So for example, the area I showed just now in the video, they try to make that location like they plant a lot of new trees, and then it's also for human, because there's a lot of bike lane and pedestrian lane, and jogging lane, like that. And then this is very interesting. The 27 community habitat gardens is actually quite similar to CEDD's mini forest initiative. So they find some space in the urban area, and then they only plant native species, and then they don't use pesticides, and spaces such as commercial place, residential place, schools, just randomly on the street. So they will find space to bring nature back to city. And in suburban area, they focus on protecting these Jiangnan landscapes to restore rural ecosystem, to maintain the heritage and their nature-based water system. And they are combining agriculture, forest, and wetland. So I will show you guys later in some site visit pictures. And then in the coastal area, they do this resilience ecological embankments. So they do restoration in the wetland areas as well. And then they also using this multifunctional blue-green space, including agriculture, forest, and wetlands in the coastal area. So for classroom, what I have learned. So these are the themes I have learned in the first 5 days of the classroom training. So there's the 14 lecturers, they come and then they talk about all these topics. And then I think I have picked the first 3 to talk about. So the first day, I think it was the first day, Stuart, he was talking about the global crisis and why nature-based solution. I remember one question I received from the audience here is asking, why nature-based solution? So here is the answer. Because we are having this interlinked crisis. That's why we need an interlinked approach. And it should be a high-level policy alignment. So what is the interlinked crisis? It's the climate change, biodiversity loss, and land degradation. For climate change, in 2024, we have already passed 1.5 degrees Celsius, and we only have next 3 years to work more. So correct me if I'm wrong, Qiu Yingguo. So if we can't keep this 1.5 degrees Celsius, then there will be a systematic collapse. So what collapse? So it will be the melting of the permafrost, and then by 2050, 50% of mangroves, they will be gone. And so for biodiversity, 44% of coral reef species, they are already at risk of extinction. And then we keep losing ecosystem services and livelihood. And then on land, about 30 to 40% of global land already degraded, and 78% of the surface is getting drier, like significantly drier. So I jot down this in my notes, is what gives us food, not agriculture, but ecosystem services. So I think this is a very good point to tell people why we should care about biodiversity. It's because biodiversity gives us ecosystem services, and that gives us food. And so here, this slide, it shows that the potential of nature-based solutions. For example, IUCN, they did a study. They showed that there will be a US dollar 170 billion that is generating from all the ecosystem services from nature-based solutions. And then it can deliver up to 37% of the climate mitigation need to meet the Paris Agreement goals. So the next topic I've learned is about how to deliver high integrity and credible nature-based solution. So we actually spent like a morning to study this nature-based solution global standard from IUCN, and then they have this 8 criterion. And then I think we have some participants here, they also got trained by IUCN, so they should know also. And so what is this global standard? Actually, it's developed by IUCN with about 800 people from 100 countries, and they have received 1,000 comments in this thing, and then so they publish it 4 years ago. And actually, every 4 years, they have to update this standard. So this year in Abu Dhabi, in the IUCN World Conservation Congress, they will have a new version. So new version is coming up soon. And then, so they are like for the existing version, there are 8 criteria and 28 indicators. And so it's made based on the knowledge co-creation of those people. So here I wrote, NbS can only be effective if well designed and implemented. So I think this standard is very useful. This guideline is very useful to develop a real NbS. So here I've picked 2 criterion that I think that has some insight. So the first one is the design at scales, because a lot of people ask me, Hong Kong is a small city, how can we do NbS? Because there's one of the criterion is to design at scales, but Hong Kong is too small, it's too difficult. But actually, it's not just about like the actual size of the NbS project, but it's about your thinking when you design. So you have to, when you design an NbS, you have to think in a landscape, think a big picture. So you have to think what's nearby and how your NbS can complement it. So it's a local implementation designed with landscape level perspective. So it means that Hong Kong, we still have a chance. We can still do NbS, even though we are like a small city. And then the second criterion is criterion 8, which is my favorite, because this one is talking about once you have done an NbS project, you should think about what kind of policy change based on that project, like what kind of guidelines coming out from that project, and how this NbS can contribute to national and global targets. So, an NbS, we have to think big. Is this contributing to the NDC for the Paris Agreement? And is this contributing to the NBSAP that contributes to the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework? So we have to think all this and ask ourselves all these questions. And here is the, like after you did all the 8 criterion, you ask yourself that 20-something questions, then you will get a table like this, and then you can generate a graph to see what you're up to. Based on what I learned, this is like for your own reference. This is for you to understand what is missing in your project and how can you do better. So it's not a verification system, but it's a standard that helps you to plan your NbS. So the next topic we learned is NbS in city and health. Actually, it was presented by Professor Edna. And these are some points that I find interesting and I jot down on my notes. She mentioned that in Europe, there are some tax benefits for property holders with green roofs. And some good benefits from green roofs on flooding is that places with green roof has a 3 hours flood delay. So it gives some time for people to run away from the flood or to remain safe. And so she also mentioned that government lead support is very important. And usually a government would do some public-private partnership to carry out all these city NbS. And she also mentioned for health, it's very interesting. She said instead of taking a depression pill, you can go to nature for 1 hour and you will be fine. She didn't say that exactly. But yeah, that's my understanding. So site visits. I have 5 minutes left. I will go very fast. So these are all the site visits that I tried to map yesterday on Google Earth. And to be honest, until yesterday, I didn't really remember where I go or didn't really know exactly where I go in terms of the map. So now I have a clear big picture. So you see the yellow one is the Shanghai site visit that I went to, 4 of them. And then I went to other ones in the Zhejiang province. Shanghai is also Zhejiang province. And then it's a Xixinan village in Anhui province. So I will talk about the 4 examples in Shanghai and the Xixinan example in Anhui because it talks about rural revitalization. So the first one is the Yangpu Binjiang. So it's the video I showed you guys just now. It's an ex-industrial area, but they revitalized it with some plantings in the buildings. There's some big tree in the middle of the building. Yeah, so it's quite nice, but I think there's a lot of mosquito when I was there. And so the next one is a Ho Tan Park. So it's also urban. So it's somewhere here along the river. So this one, they designed the park as like a sponge park. Why I say that is because they plant all the vegetation that is suitable for heavy rain, and then even it's underwater, these plants will not die. I think it's quite nice. So that one is a picture from the top. You can see the design of that, and then that one, it was before and after. So before it was an industrial area, also it was quite horrible, and then they turned this horrible place to this beautiful park. It was quite nice, actually. There's a lot of people enjoying over there. And then suburban area, this Kaojing Park. So as I mentioned before, if you guys remember, there's a different strategy, right? So for suburban area, they try to protect this Jiangnan cultural, the Jiangnan water town culture, right? So you can see that they are mix of agriculture, wetland, and some forests. And for example, this one, people, they actually live in the house at the back, but then there's some community farmland in the front. So people, they actually farm in front of where they live. I find it quite interesting, and over there as well. So yeah, it's a bit far away from the city center. So yeah, suburban. And then this one is the Chongming Dongtan. I think maybe some of you have been there. So it's actually a Ramsar site of China, and I think WWF we sent Senji there to teach them how to do wetland management. And I've actually visited two sites. One is called the park, and one is called the nature reserve. So it's the two areas. So in the park, they do a lot of different activity. They do like some firefights stuff at night, and then they also have some weekend activity with kids. That's how they earn money, and it's also owned privately. So it's a privately owned land in the park area, so they can do a lot of stuff. But then there's also the alligator, the Yangtze alligator. So at the beginning, I think back in 1998, there's only 6 alligator, and now it has 50. And then overall, there's only 200. This alligator left in the wild. So they have this in the park area, 50 of them. So I find it quite amazing. And I actually saw some ducks, some birds this is the Ramsar site. So yeah, they actually, they have circle different sites for different activity, and then they have different mark on the map. So this area can do this area can do this. So I think it's very interesting. Maybe it's our Shampoo Shu Park can also make reference to this. Like they have buffer area, activity area, and restoration area. And then it's the last site visit I'm going to talk about. It's a Xixinan. It's a rural. So it's a rural revitalization project that I think KS is very interested in, KS and maybe Chiu-Ying-Go. So this one, remember him, I will try to get him to Hong Kong. So he's a Beijing University professor, Yu Kongjian. And if a panda is something very big for China, then he is also something big for China regarding Sponge City, because Sponge City is from him. So I was quite proud to be next to him and selfie with him. And then he also took us a walk around this Xixinan village, because it's one of his projects. So he mentioned that this site is actually a well irrigation site. And then they designed the river to let the fish to swim around. And then this is the Fengyang tree that can still be alive if it's underwater for 1 week. Fengyang Shu. And then this is the nighttime of the area. It's quite interesting because they have a bridge, and then there's nothing on the side, so you can literally fall down. So I was quite surprised they have this kind of design, because normally in Hong Kong you cannot, like there's always something holding you, right? And then here it's very interesting as well, because we walked past this, and then he suddenly told me, okay, this is a bad example. I'm like, oh wow. So we talk about bad example. So he said that this kind of thing is not good for, like, it's not nature-based solution because all the pollutants will get washed to the river. So that's good. When we talk about case study, we talk about lesson learned, right? So yeah, I will try to get him to Hong Kong. Over there as well, there's the river. So he said that he tried to keep the trees. He fight very hard with the government over there to keep this tree. And then he said because of this tree, the water flow is slower, so it's safer for people, and then also have some habitat for birds. So I know it's time's up, so this is the last slide. So this is my insight with a big light bulb. So what's the insight? So yeah, learn and share what you learn. So I feel that in this trip, I have written down a lot of notes, and other participants, they told me like this, like they recognize me as the Hong Kong person who keep writing notes and taking pictures all the time. But I think it's very useful because when you go out to this kind of events, you forget things quickly. So it's always good to write down something so you remember and then share what you learned. So now today I share with all of you here, and hopefully something will come out from all this. And then I also see that the Shanghai, the NbS hub has launched. So I think that maybe Hong Kong, we can also learn or maybe do something similar to that. And actually, I've requested a 5-minute presentation slot during the classroom session and presenting in front of all the MNR people and in front of IUCN, and then they all support this Hong Kong hub idea. And then climate mitigation, you see here, this is IUCN Regional Office NbS expert, and I'm trying to invite him to Hong Kong in November, Hanif. And then he said that here, actually, I wrote down on my notes, like during our visit, he said, I have enough of this, because it was really hot. So it was 36 degrees Celsius, and then the site visit was in the park. So it made me keep thinking that, okay, if we want to design an NbS, it's for human benefits, which means people go there and enjoy. But if it's getting too hot, then what's the point of doing all this? Because people will not go there. People will just stay at home and enjoy AC. So at the end of the day, we need to think about climate mitigation. We cannot expect all this NbS thing will really make it cooler, because it won't. It takes time. Because we also visited a forest in the Zhejiang area, and the forest area was actually quite cool. So I can tell the temperature difference between all this sponge park and the real forest. Like the forest is really cool, but sponge park is so hot. And so yeah, work together. So here in this picture, we have a China MNR high-level staff, and then we have Edna here, and then we have people from everywhere. And okay, so the last point, we can be the leader. So what's that? It's actually for me to introduce Edna. So you can see Edna over there. And actually, when we were taking that picture, I asked her, hey, since you are like doing a lot of case study all over the world, so which place you think is the best for NbS? And then she told me, okay, it's actually China. Because China, I see a lot of biodiversity while I'm here. And actually in Europe, even though they do a lot of city NbS and stuff, all the biodiversity are like gone. So that's why we need to think that we can be the leader, because we have all the biodiversity. Right, Edna? Edna.
Right, Katie.
Okay, great. Okay, so then I will pass the next session to Edna. And so yeah, that's all from me. And then so before passing the session to Edna, I've prepared like a summary of who is Edna. So Charlie, can you put Edna's face up here? Okay, so Professor Edna Cabecinha is currently co-leader of the NbS thematic group at the IUCN Commission on Ecosystem Management. She has a bachelor in biophysical engineering and master in environmental technology and a PhD in environmental science. Her research interests are related to freshwater ecosystem restoration, identifying priority freshwater areas and habitats, and promoting integrative co-management strategy. More recently, she has been involved in assessing the benefits of nature-based solution implementation on ecosystem services and biodiversity conservation. So hi, Edna, we can all see your face.
Well, first of all, good afternoon to you. Good morning here in Portugal. And I really want to thank you for the invitation and congrats to you to manage to organize this session and pull out together a very interesting summary of the 14 days that we passed together on
It was not easy. I spent like 2 weeks looking at my notes.
Not easy, and thank you for the map with the local, because I didn't have also the idea where
Yep.
we went. After Kitty did the invitation, I thought to make just a very short presentation to just put you in a framework of what we have been doing in IUCN and the Commission on Ecosystem Management, where we have this thematic group also related to nature-based solutions that I hope in the end we can count on you to be a part of it as volunteer and work together. As Kitty said, this is really an important part of the work of nature-based solution. And also what Kitty was saying about my answer to her questions of where was a very interesting site to be mentioned as a good example, good practices. Yes, China was really impressive to me because we are always talking, namely in Europe, where I stand, how to upscale nature-based solutions. And what I found in China and in these examples of projects that were implemented with nature-based solutions, they are way ahead on the upscaling NbS. And as Kitty was saying before, NbS, it's really site-specific. So it's really important to work locally with the different conditions, the different types of societal challenge that we have to address with the conditions of course, these local when we are implementing the nature-based solutions and so on. But it's really important to focus on a bigger picture in a holistic framework where we put our local project, but in the end, it's related to the surroundings at regional level, at national level, and even internationally. So it's really important to have this view on this holistic way. So I will just share with you some slides, if this is okay, Kitty?
Yes, please.
Okay, you have to give me permission.
Okay. Got it?
So I think you can see me now.
Yep.
Can you see it? Can you see my
Yep.
screen?
Perfect.
Yep. Okay. So as Kitty previously said, we really want to implement and upscale nature-based solutions accordingly to these interconnect crises that relates climate change, but also, of course, it's related to climate change, very extreme events related to droughts, hot heat waves that have been longer and very frequent. Also the floods, for instance, In Portugal, for instance, we had the biggest heat wave this year and this summer that brings also very intense wildfires, unfortunately with also death. But this is not only in Portugal or Europe, all over the world. These extreme events have been bringing very difficult situations, affecting many people, lives, and of course many millions that are affected with all of this all over the globe. And this has consequences, namely you have probably seen the NbS reports, not only the last ones from 2019 and 2020, that show the bigger crisis on, I don't know if you hear me.
Yes.
Kiki? Yes? Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Related to biodiversity loss and also ecosystem degradation and land degradation, and the direct and indirect drivers are really related to what we have mentioned: land use, land cover changes, climate change, direct exploitation of the ecosystems, for instance, and these have been affected many local communities that really need the ecosystems and the ecosystem services to survive, for instance. So it seems like a very dark scenario, but we have some solutions, namely, as Kitty said, nature-based solutions that are an umbrella concept that is interlinked with ecosystems-based approach always, and always it's not only focused on conservation, it will address different societal challenges, and also very important, providing human well-being and biodiversity gain. So these umbrella concepts also have different types of approaches that are interlinked. Here just some examples that were mentioned on a publication on 2016 from Emmanuel Cohen and team from the IUCN SEM work as a team. And this was really important so people can understand that this umbrella concept is really related to ecosystems-based approach at different aspects, and could, of course, be interlinked with site-specific conditions. And very important, as Kitty also said, the IUCN Global Standard for NbS. It's a very important practical tool that, first of all, establish a common language for NbS, so we could understand what is and what is not an NbS, but also to provide a very robust framework, not only to design and implementing when you are at urban scenarios or rural areas and so on, but also to assess and adapt, because the IUCN Global Standard has also a self-assessment tool, and the objective is for you to assess your implementation and to understand what are the major criteria and indicators that you are very well on, and could do again this fantastic work, but also what is not so good and could be improved. And with the monetization process every year, for instance, you can address these issues and improve your implementation of the NbS. And also this is really important, the 8 criteria. As Kitty said, we are working now, IUCN, SAM, but also colleagues from different other commissions from the IUCN, many experts on this new version that will be launched in Abu Dhabi. Mostly this update is to take the global standard less complex in language, but also we also don't have anymore the Excel file for the self-assessment. It will be easier now. We have an online version, so you can work as a team to address this self-assessment for your NbS implementation, and very, very important to involve key stakeholders at different levels to co-design this process of NbS, and also to have in mind all the right holders and benefits for the different people that will be direct or indirect affected by the project of the NbS. So this very shortly, because the time is not much, just to say to you that a very new version will be launched at the WCC in Abu Dhabi, but the objective is still the same. We have criteria, we will have indicators that now are very interlinked with also global indicators and strategies like the GBF, the Global Biodiversity Framework, for instance, but also to different levels have to respond to several things, namely to the Paris Agreement with the NDCs, for instance, and the NbS and the self-assessment tool for the IUCN Global Standard. It's a very important tool that can be used to address also these reports and show how the country is going forward on these different issues. Here, just an example. This is from a Portuguese case study from an international project. And just to show to you in the different criteria in this case study, we manage very well on criterion 1, 2, 3, and 8, for instance, because the major focus of the project was really on biodiversity, how nature-based solutions could improve biodiversity conservation, but also ecosystem services, and try to understand how this could be co-designing the green strategy for the Piver River with the different types of stakeholders. So here also was really important to have a co-development of this co-design strategy with the different stakeholders involved. But also lessons learned, as Kitty also mentioned before, are very important. So for us, we understand that the criteria C4 and C6 related to economy, feasibility of the project, and so on, and the trade-offs were not so well developed. Was not the focus of the project, the primary focus, but nevertheless, it's really important. So for the new projects that we are implementing, this was already taken care and organized on the design of the project, for instance. And I also want to present you, because it was finished in, I think, 2 weeks, the new work that will be launched also on the WCC in Abu Dhabi, but it's already available, so I will send the link to Kitty. I think I already did it.
Yes, got it.
This is a work of more than 3 years that we have been done in the Commission, that will help the update of the global standard, but also very important to have many case studies, 21 in total, with different types of ecosystems addressed, with different types of NbS and ecosystems-based approach addressed, also tackling different types of societal challenges in different contexts, from urban to forest to marine and coastal, to some examples more related to economic issues. And as you can see here, we have examples from around the globe, and I really hope that this work could inspire you to have more and better NbS implementations all over the world, because NbS are really important. They do and fulfill many functions for the ecosystems and provide many benefits as well, not only human health, but also to bring to communities where these NbS are implemented, could bring very important increase on social and economic and ecological benefits as well. So we have many examples how this could be related to One Health concept. This is one of the publications that also you could see it related to it. And of course, the Nexus publication that very recently IPBES have done. I will not just show you some examples how nature-based solution can really improve and be interlinked not only with health, but also very important, interlinked with major global agendas, like the Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Goals, and contribute to many of these 17 Sustainable Development Goals as well. We are living also in a very important decade, for the decade of ecosystem restoration, but also the marine restoration decade, for instance. So nature-based solutions can be applied in very different type of ecosystems restoration. Of course, in Hong Kong, in a very urban intense type of ecosystems. We have also, just to highlight you, how nature-based solutions are really being pushed forward. That was also one of the questions, why nature-based solution had increased in these few years of importance, and has to be also with the policies that have been implemented in Europe. For instance, the Green Deal have pushed forward many
recording in
calls,
progress
on projects related to nature-based solutions, for instance, and how they could tackle this. We also in Europe have approved the nature restoration regulation, and now all the member states are being mandated to develop the national restoration plans. So we have been working on how we can implement nature-based solutions to address these national restoration plans, for instance. So this is just some examples how nature-based solutions are related to these restoration plans, but also very important to the GBF targets as well, because countries really have to respond to these different types of reports of NbS on creating a green economy, namely related to green jobs that have been implementing. And also one of the priorities is really to create capacity building on technical skills, but also on very important core skills that are really important for the different types of levels that nature-based solutions are being implemented. So this is one of the examples of the Portuguese case study where we involve different types of stakeholders, from policymakers, from NGOs, local communities, after the definition of sensitive to be immediately implemented with NbS. Many work have been developed with volunteers, but also municipalities and other key stakeholders that working with us on the co-design and the implementation of the NbS. And the participatory approach to involve the stakeholders since day one in your different projects, it's really important to define the problem and also afterwards to implement the nature-based solutions in the long term. Much more than the project, it's really important to involve local communities, so your NbS could really be implemented for many years. Just to give you feedback how to involve universities and environmental education in the several projects, and of course the financing mechanisms that are available. And this is really important because without the budget it's really difficult to implement nature-based solutions. So now there are very different types of financing mechanisms that could be available for the implementation of this type of projects. Very important. There are also very important bibliography on this issue for the opportunities and challenge of NbS financing. And to finalize some takeaways, to say that the interconnect crisis on climate change, biodiversity loss and land degradation have to be urgently and decisively addressed to achieve sustainable development goals. And of course NbS as this umbrella framework can really be very effectively and synergetically address these interlinkage global challenges, and also the IUCN global standard for NbS and his self-assessment tool. It's really a fundamental operational framework to design, implement also assess and monitor NbS interventions across different international environmental agreements, and very important, to monitor and have data that really it's very important, so we could upscale, showing the best practices to learn with the lessons we learn from the different implementations, so we could have a very much informed decision makers and also the investors on this area. And to conclude, say that the NbS upscale really requires a joint work with the governments and the scientists and everybody in the society. So this is some bibliography, and thank you for your attention. Sorry if I take too long.
Thank you, Edna. I can see Charles is here, right? Charles, can you switch on your camera, please?
Yeah, my pleasure. Hello, everyone, and sorry to join late.
Yay. Okay, so okay,
Nice to be here.
Yeah, I don't know where to stand.
Hi,
I'll just
Edna,
stand
good
here
to
then.
see you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, our next session will be the fireside chat with both of you. And maybe I can introduce Charles quickly. So Charles is a Rwanda national, brings with him over 18 years of experience in the forest, landscape, and livelihood programs for Africa. He has been IUCN country representative for Rwanda from 2016 to 2022, when he was appointed IUCN Kenya country representative as well as head of Land System Africa region. In his role, Charles leads IUCN's efforts in developing and implementing nature-based solutions to address global environmental challenges such as climate change, biodiversity loss, and ecosystem degradation. So nice to see both of you here today, and then we also have a participant here. Can you see? Okay, great. So, so when all the participants, when they join this thing online, I asked them to give me a question. So in total, I have received 47 questions, and it's with different themes such as NbS concept, measures and monitoring, urban NbS in cities, opportunities and challenge, finance and businesses, policy, general public, collaboration, and education. So I have summarized all these 47 questions into 10 questions. So we can just kickstart because we are a little bit late, and Maritime Museum told me that we have to clear this room by 4:45. So the first question for you both, to give a global picture, like what is NbS and why it matters. So I think we all know what's NbS by now. And so I would like to ask maybe Charles, why NbS concept has gained such rapid traction globally?
Thank you. A good question, and I will really be very brief because I know Edna have done an amazing job of talking about this. But yeah, historically, conservation and development have been two completely different systems, and this can absolutely be felt at national level, across public and private sector. And we have always struggled to develop a narrative as a scientist, but also an economist, on the link of the two, how conservation influence development and how development influence conservation. At the same time, how do we take conservation out of the traditional umbrella of just a species and ecosystem and beautiful parks, to turn this concept into an economically viable and investable option. Now, there is a second narrative there, is that we have got three triple planetary crises. You know, we have got climate change, biodiversity loss, land degradation. Then in addition to that, you had poverty and other issues. So nature-based solution was framed to try to reconcile those silos, the silos of climate, biodiversity, and land degradation, but also the silos with with development. So that's why actually they come and are presented as solutions, because then you are working with nature to address societal problems at the same time benefiting biodiversity, benefiting climate, and benefiting land. I will stop there. I know we have too many questions.
Yes, 47. No, just 10. Okay, so from your perspective as the IUCN Global NbS head, so what are the most impactful global best practice or new initiative you have seen recently?
Yeah, so I think probably it will be good to build on what Edna presented, the 21 example, which is a publication with IUCN Commission recently launched, on 21 examples of case studies globally, which are nature-based solutions. But think about what we are seeing as really tremendous change, especially within the nexus of cities, urban migration, but also other productive systems. We are seeing nature coming more and more prominent within the new urbanization processes. That's why we see new cities are building strongly on more established green cities, more established sustainable management of water systems in cities to manage floods and other disasters. So we are seeing that growing. But also beyond that, there are quite a new change now within the financial system. Now, there's a new language we are seeing, which did not exist before, where nature-based solution within the finance process is coming in as a kind of de-risking mechanism, especially when it comes to risk related to natural disasters, fires, flooding, landslides, and others. To mitigate those risks, nature-based solution is coming in as a kind of de-risking, reducing those risks at the coastal areas, but also in other areas. So working with nature to minimize or to reduce or to mitigate some of those risks. The third area where we are seeing big projects is in the carbon space, where there are quite a growing interest on high integrity carbon credits that at the same time address biodiversity loss. So we are also seeing a strong uptake of nature-based solution within those areas.
So as you mentioned, you are an economist, and then we also have some finance people in the room, and also we also receive a lot of questions about finance. So maybe you can let us know, like how does IUCN measure long-term success and benefits of NbS, especially in ways relevant for investors and finance frameworks?
Good question, actually, Kitu. That's one of the areas we have been surfacing for quite some time. The good news is that we are finally, hopefully soon, going to launch a new tool, which is building on IUCN global standard, which is called the Private and Public Investments Screening Tool. It's a decision-making tool with a lot of financial and economic metrics, which will help to make decision and includes those return on investment, net present value, and other types of economic metrics and financial metrics that we look at. But let me simply say that even before that is launched, I think generally as an economist, we have been getting the economic models totally wrong, including financial models. I've done an economic model for a tea company, which 100% depends the water which treats tea up to the market comes from a forest. And it's a beautiful natural forest. They just put in a tap and get a full water for free, clean water. They don't treat it. Every kilo of tea, which it goes to the market internationally, uses at least between 5 to 10 liters of water. And this tea company exports tons of tea internationally. So I looked at their financial model and economic model. They never considered water cost in the production process. Yeah, simply because they get it for free from the park. As a result, they never conserve, protect, contribute to the protection of that park. Think about it as a financial investor. I think that financial model actually is lacking already something. And that's the problem with many of financial models and economic models, is that we don't consider the ecosystem services that we get, which are critical in actually our revenue model and revenue generation model. That's one side of the story. The second side of the story is when we look at the risk and dependencies. Now, we only consider you are in real estate, just to take a simple example. And you know that floods and other slides and other issues are part of the risks of your investment. But you don't consider that. And then you just go ahead and build without even doing the proper, sometimes the tick box of environmental social impact assessment, which I don't like because it's sometimes becoming just more of a shallow and greenwashing mechanism to different things. I'm not judging anything here, but that's the experience. And subsequently, the risk and the dependencies and how much actually risks from either natural risks from nature or from ecosystem, how much dependence from that. If we ignore that from the revenue model, and subsequently we'll get the wrong numbers. And that's where we are trying to correct things. And many financial institutions and the companies are trying to actually move into that direction to also achieve that sustainability. So I think that's how we are developing it. So there's a couple of metrics building on TNFD, but also looking at other global frameworks that will help, especially the global standard for nature-based solution.
So we will look forward to see the updated NbS standard in October then. So let's move to Hong Kong and Asia. So because a lot of people ask a question about Hong Kong. So Hong Kong is a dense urban hub that also sits within the biodiversity-rich Greater Bay Area. So what unique role can Hong Kong play in shaping the NbS agenda in the Greater Bay Area or even in Asia?
A good one. I don't know. I don't want to monopolize, but I'm sure there will be time for Edna as well. So, yeah, I visited for the last 2 years. I've been in the region, in that region. So for a couple of times, I visited Hong Kong once, at least last year, and I was impressed by the several ongoing initiatives that are happening. One thing that I want to mention is that leadership takes action and takes champions. And absolutely, I would commend Hong Kong efforts. One opportunity Hong Kong have got is that it's a growing city, high populated, but also with a lot of opportunities to design and think with nature. What do Hong Kong want to be in the next 50 years, 20, 50, 100 years ahead? Simply because with the risks of its location, with the risks of climate change and biodiversity loss, if we don't think alongside nature and continue to grow investments in real estate, in industrialization, it's all beautiful, it's all economically absolutely great. But I think nature will pay us back. We'll make a phone call and we won't be able to respond. It will be too late. So I think the opportunity for continued position Hong Kong as a leader, not only in development, but also in nature and biodiversity and ecosystem management is huge in that region. That's the leadership side. And then the second, I think, there are several examples of NbS in Hong Kong, regardless of either being small scale, but this needs to be communicated globally. So one opportunity we see also is that we are launching another similar of what my colleague Edna presented, 100-case book of nature-based solution. We're happy to integrate, of course, Hong Kong case studies. And then finally, I think, Kitty, you have been a champion of how do we establish a Hong Kong nature-based solution hub, which we are very excited to absolutely support and work with partners and the government. And all those are really integrated way that Hong Kong can continue to provide leadership in not only in that region, but also globally in showcasing how nature-based solution can sustain development and economic growth.
So you mentioned about the Hong Kong NbS hub. It's actually something I keep pushing in Hong Kong after the summer school. And so I just want to ask you, and actually someone asked in this question. So what would an IUCN endorsed Hong Kong NbS hub look like in terms of functions, partnership, and value for the region?
Yeah, the regional hub models and national hub are basically technical center of excellence which have 4 mandates. The first one is guiding in terms of providing expertise to government, to public sector, to private sector, to civil society, to communities. The second is capacity building in terms of training, capacitating different people, but also a convening opportunity for people to come together to share the success and the failure, but also opportunities to scale collaboratively, jointly. And there's a whole issue that we see in many other countries, but probably not the same in Hong Kong, is the silos across public institutions. You've got agriculture in its own window, environment is on its own, finance, administration, and those basically, each of them, and then the local municipalities are all driving development infrastructure, industrial change. They all have great intention to support population, but nature is a common denominator, is a unifying voice between every single institution. So what we do also is offering this platform as a silo breaker to come together to look at a horizon of beyond the 5-year development plan, 10-year development plan, 20-year, and start designing a long-term, nature-friendly development for generations to come. So that's the kind of hub. And there are regional hub and there are national hubs. And we see the Hong Kong one as one of the national hub, which will work collaboratively with the regional hub in Asia. We have already a hub which is based in Beijing. We are staffing them. We have been doing a lot of work together. And we have the global hub, which I'm privileged to be heading, working with different colleagues. And we see that as a joint partnership between IUCN and countries, but also regions, and happy to provide probably more details. But subsequently, the hubs are not funded by IUCN, they are funded by government because they are demand-driven centers. They are funded by partners, private sector companies that are interested to gain support. And what we bring as IUCN at the global level is expertise from the Commission, which Edna is one of the leaders of our Commission on Ecosystem Management. We bring tools, we work with that national hub to capacitate and enable or unlock the scale that is required across different sectors.
That's great. So back to Edna then. Since you have just published the 21 case study of different countries or cities, so what are like the top priorities for Hong Kong? What lesson we can learn from other mega cities?
Well, I hope you can all see the book that will be launched in Abu Dhabi. But tell you that, well, first of all, NbS are site-specific. So for Hong Kong, of course, you will have different type of approaches. Nevertheless, you can learn and be inspired with many of the examples that are in this publication, but has also Charles has mentioned, another book is coming with 100 case studies. And you have several examples. We have the opportunity also to, from the UK, you have much urban example of the application of nature-based solutions. But if we are focused like in Asia, Asian region, for instance, I would say that some of the examples that we have in the case studies on the summer school, namely, for instance, in Shanghai with the sponge cities, where we have it all, or Chinchinan village, where we have the parks for people and the very important impact on well-being and health by using these natural areas that are created. But nevertheless, we have to have in mind that this type of parks as in sponge cities, are to be used when it's not raining, and when we had the flood, they have, for instance, in the Shanghai example, they construct the park in several levels. So we have a level for the flood of 10 years, 20 years, and 50 years. And after the flood, we can use again the park. Within the flood, we have a retention basin. It's very important to reduce the impact of floods and the impact also in economic, like Charles was saying. It's not only to promote tourism in a good sunshiny day, but also to prevent flood risks, and the impact of economic on the value of preventing this flood risk is really, really important. So I think Hong Kong has already many important examples of nature-based solutions that are being implemented, but nevertheless, I think we can always learn with other examples wherever in the globe we can see it.
And since Hong Kong is like a city, so from other cities' case study, what are the biggest challenge normally the cities would face when they mainstream NbS, and how they can be overcome?
Charles, if you want to, or I can start it and then you can. So cities has several challenges, right? Not only the heat islands, and with the climate change and the extreme events that we are facing, it's really important to have cooler cities, not only to be cool, but also to be cooler. And to address this, nature-based solutions are really important to create these green, sustainable areas in the city is really important. So we can create it different types of parks, as the ones I mentioned before, but also when we lack space, for instance, green roofs can also be a very important type of NbS implementation that could be addressed. You give the example that I gave in the summer school from Paris and Brussels, for instance, that they implement with the municipality input on reducing taxes, for instance, and give the owners also a capacity team, technical expertise, with the technical expertise to implement these green roofs. And they could delay 3 hours on the flood of the rain on these neighborhoods where they have the green roofs. So this also could be a very important type of NbS implementation that could be addressed. I would say if we live in the cities, to put as green as possible, it will use nature-based solutions. It will be a must. And of course, a very important address, as Charles said, not only for now, but for future generations to come, to address the several types of challenges that cities also face.
Charles, you are muted.
You are muted.
Yeah, one few addition on that. I think, I mean, again, I honestly salute the leadership of China in nature-based solution. Myself and Kitty and Edna, we had a tour. I'm sure Kitty might have already talked about our experience during the summer school. What we are seeing globally is that the problem of water in cities will remain one of the driving destruction force, especially with the climate change and droughts and heavy rains, and then sea level rise. So for me, if we really want a transformative way, we need to start thinking with water, thinking with nature on how addressing these bigger problems in the long term. And we have already case studies. Spongy City model, it's undoubtedly both economically, biodiversity, and ecologically viable, investable option. We are seeing a lot of new investment models in the green parks. I just returned from my home country, Rwanda, where a wetland network was created and restored and protected, and now it's becoming a city parks, actually managed by big private companies, generating, I looked at their cash flow, it's amazing. We never thought about that opportunity in the cities. And then I see an opportunity for a private-public partnership model that needs to be thought through in a long term, because these things need to be self-funded in a long term, not only relying on domestic budget allocation. So that's a great opportunity, and we do have already case studies across Mexico to Africa to Europe and in Asia, of course, subsequently. And I think in Hong Kong, I'm sure I still need to spend more time there, and hopefully I'm visiting soon and looking forward to meet many of you. But absolutely, they are huge opportunities that people need to develop a pipeline of those investable opportunities in nature-based solutions and start working with the private sector, financial institutions to mobilize finance for those.
So you mentioned public-private partnership. How can we better engage, like for example, the business sector, foundation, and property owners to invest in and sustain NbS projects? Like how?
I think that there's really one side that fit all across the globe. What might probably work in different regions might be different, but there are probably underpinning principles that we may start to look at. One starting point is landscape understanding. Who is where, who is benefiting what types of ecosystem services that are being generated by nature, and who are the beneficiary of those. And that understanding is extremely important when you start talking to private sector, because the problem with private sector, they always want to see return on investment. Every single coin and dollar that they invest, they want to see, what are we getting back? And that get back thing needs to be also considerate and inclusive of how much risk are we managing, and how much do we depend on ecosystem and nature. I mean, beautifully said in many case studies, unless we do that new model, it's going to be very hard to fund nature-based solution, because we need to have that comprehensive, what we call cumulative value for that. So that underpinning principle, understanding who benefit from what across different ecosystem services, probably is a good entry point. And I think the second part is risk analysis. Understanding what kind of risk, how much are going to affect the real estate industry, for example. And then the third one is cost-benefit analysis. For example, when I was in Shanghai recently, Shanghai City presented a case on mangrove restoration. And by creating that new mangrove ecosystem, the real estate around that increased the value, I think, by 400%, if I remember what they said. It means a lot. I mean, you can imagine that tremendous increase. Where does it go? It should also go back to the ecosystem and financing nature-based solution. I think there's a whole new philosophy of finance that needs to be developed and understood, and collaboratively. We need to look at that as a common goods that we all benefit, and start investing and mobilizing resources collaboratively. So I think those are key areas, but happy to absolutely discuss more and share more examples where private sector financing NbS and the types of revenue models that they are using and business plans.
So maybe before I open the floor for questions, I have a last question for you both. So what is the one action Hong Kong should take in the next 2 years to advance NbS?
Edna, do you want to start?
Difficult one. I think capacity building is really important, and showcase. It's really, really important. So events like the one you are doing today, Kitty, is really important to create awareness. Because if people don't know, it's difficult to go forward. So I think this could be the beginning to push forward the very good examples of the NbS implementation that you have already in the country. Also probably create some living labs to push forward and involve the community through participatory projects to co-design, because if people are involved, they want to preserve and to upscale NbS and maintain NbS implementations in the different projects. So I think this could be a way also with capacity building.
So I think that's absolutely, as we say, perfect one action. One thing I might add is break the silos. And break the silos between nature and development. I think Hong Kong is a leader in development and just bring nature alongside. And that needs to happen within a cross-sectoral collaboration and start thinking about what kind of roadmap. I mean, nature-based solidarity doesn't happen from NGO. We need to take that idea. NGO can only facilitate, but these are public-private efforts and the community. So I call it private-public community partnerships. We need to create that joint, and that will help actually move in the short term, tangible projects forward.
Great. So do we have any question from the floor? They are still absorbing what you guys just said. Any questions? KKS, you have a question, right? So here we have the former Secretary for Environment in the room. So let's see what question he has.
Hello, can you hear? Okay, thank you for your sharing. My question is that, while there are many challenges, certainly climate change is one of the biggest challenges affecting all of us, including Hong Kong, right? So can you elaborate or share some example how NbS can help a city like Hong Kong when we are upgrading our climate action plan? How NbS can play a part to upgrade our current policy so that we can, on one hand, strengthen our climate actions, at the same time, get other benefits. Thank you. Is my question clear?
Yeah, I think I got a little bit. Probably we need more. I don't know if Kitty, you got
Yeah.
maybe you need to.
Yes, so KS is asking how we can include NbS in our climate action plan. So it's the NDC, like the Hong Kong NDC. How we can include NbS.
Yeah, thank you. I will start. I will share experience. I would have done a good exercise to read the Hong Kong NDC before this meeting, but I didn't know that. But what we have seen in other countries, and it's really extreme. I was involved in a recent work in 5 countries in Africa: Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea-Conakry, South Africa, and Ghana. Exactly to look at what are the gaps in the NDC. Sorry, in the NDC, the current NDCs, when you think about nature-based solutions. So that was gap analysis, And we realized that subsequently there was a lot of great action that are integrated in the NDC, but were not comprehensive and ambitious enough. At the same time, there was a parallel side of NBSAP, the National Biodiversity Strategic Action Plan. So we thought, okay, if we are talking about nature-based solution, which can address both climate change in the NDC, including carbon mitigation and absorption, but also restoration and resilience and adaptation. How about we also look at NBSAP and how those actually are unified? So we looked at that, and then we brought the national development plans overlaying that, so to look at the gap between the three metrics. And it was quite interesting exercise. So what we came up with in those countries, each of the country, which we can happily share, was now the how to mainstream NbS in the NDC, in the NBSAP, with tangible action points. So having not read the NDC for Hong Kong, I think the first entry point would probably be to look at what are the silos issue and the gaps between the NBSAP and NDC. You are talking about the same country and same ecosystem that we need to depend on. And then finally, we then brought in the language into the NDC second version. So in the update, clearly, nature-based solution and the related benefits was put forward. For example, actions that significantly contribute to mitigation and are related to nature, including land use and land cover change, and looking at the Ahoro-Afolu model, were included, and seriously bringing the biodiversity component in the NDC, not to keep it siloed. Same for NBSAP. So that's the kind of exercise we started doing, and I will be absolutely happy to work with partners there in strengthening that linkage.
Yeah, just to complement that, we work with Cabo Verde, for instance, to create the roadmap for NDC, implementing and designing different types of NbS to address mitigation and adaptation to climate change. But now, since in Europe we have to do all the national restoration plans due to the restoration regulation, it's really important to do this type of approach that Charles was saying, because countries are mandated to do different types of reports for NDC, responding to the Paris Agreement, to the NAPS, to different types of reports due to different international directives. So it's really important to do interconnected analysis where NbS are really in the center and could really help to push forward and upscale nature-based solutions in this case as well.
Great. So I hope that answers your question, KS. And we have another question from the floor. So we also have the former director of Hong Kong Observatory here, CY, which did I play the song to you guys in Shanghai? I make a pop song, right? So actually he's here. So I will let him ask a question.
No, I have too many questions. I mean, on the ground, apparently NbS is still a very novel concept. And I'm more concerned about how we can get people buy in and then take it as part of the ingredient for their own meal in the government. I just don't know how we could sell NbS to government officials who are used to very strict framework NbS is nature. Nature is lawless. Nature is very active. Nature is changing. Nature is something they can't grasp. Because we have law, we have regulations, but NbS is more a framework, a concept, and the problem there is the word nature, and it's very difficult to get nature into government. So you two guys have been working on this for so long. Can you give us some insight? You look puzzled.
Yeah, no, I got the question, and I fully agree. I think there's still a need for education. One thing that has historically really been observed across is that we have always taken nature, we have taken advantage of nature, and we fully agree. That's why we have all these crises. It's just simply because we never look at nature as a partner or a co-investor or a shareholder. I'm trying to use all the types of words for financiers and government officials, and we didn't look at nature as, if you are investing, what are the share of nature into that? But we still think we are investing a partner across or an ally. And because we took advantage, that's why we have destroyed ecosystem. We never looked at what would be the value of that. And I fully agree. The language of nature means a lot in policy, but we need to unpack that. What does it mean, actually? Because that's where the problem. What we took advantage was Mother Nature, was ecosystem. We have used those areas, protected area. We have destroyed them. Biodiversity, we have destroyed that. Now, by thinking the other way around, and this is why nature-based solution, I find it extremely exciting, is, okay, now probably people are not understanding this because they're not realizing how much nature is a solution to problems we are facing. Then can we start then not just looking at nature as an asset, as a given, as a God-given thing, but start looking at, we have problems, but we are looking for solution. We have to find solution to these problems. And nature can also contribute to that ongoing solution, provide provision. So that's where I see the opportunity, Mr. Director. And probably that education, as Edna said, this kind of convening, it changes a little bit the mindset. I was in a meeting with our ministers of finance, and I was advocating for budget increase. I know as an economist, I had prepared a lot, my notes and all the unpacking. But I had to take one example, which was extremely important in my notes, of soil erosion. And how much soil erosion affect agriculture, affect water supply, affect hydroelectricity, affect. I substantiated that. And our Minister of Finance was like, we have not realized that impact. It's costing 30% of the GDP of the country. So, and finally that was prioritized, an increase about $7 million in the domestic budget funding, etc. So somehow we need to work collaboratively with scientists, with economists, with finance, with civil society, to bring some of these things to our decision makers, our leaders in the government, in a more substantiated way. I will submit there.
Edna, do you have anything to say?
No, just to completely agree with Charles and highlight the importance of the majority of the times we just look at the benefits, like the increasing of the forest area and some benefits that are easily measurable, but we don't enter with this part of the mathematical function, that is what we really benefit reducing the risks. And that's, I think, one of the important questions or areas that we have to work and have the capacity building also to put more the nature-based solutions in the governance, in the policy. If the people understand when we are doing NbS implementation, what we are winning, reducing the risk of floods. Imagine with one flood we have millions of I don't remember the word in English, damage. In damage, in life losses, many of the cases, for instance. So if we prevent this, we could really have a much win-win situation, and that for me it's still lacking on where when we communicate with policymakers and governance, and that's what we have to work on as well.
Thank you. So thank you both of you for joining us today online, and thank you for all the participants coming here in person. And so I hope that there will be something going on soon. And then I will see you guys in Abu Dhabi. Bye. So,
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye.